My name is Paz Heer. I studied here in 1997 to 1999, and I studied business, media studies and English language. I think at the time, business was always something that I always wanted to go into. Media studies, because it sounded quite exciting. I feel like we had a tour and we went into the radio studio and the media suite that you had at the time, and that was just exciting, and we thought, we're going to be watching movies and stuff like that. And I guess English was just because my sister done English at A-level. I feel like it was the perfect bridge between school and university, where there wasn't so much, you're a bit more of an independent adult, aren't you, at college? Whereas school, I felt like I wanted a bit more than that step. And I obviously had older siblings who had come to this college as well. So there was a bit of copycatting. But when I saw his life of like catching the bus, meeting friends, all of that was all part and parcel of the process. Whereas sixth form, I feel like it wasn't a big enough step. I would say firstly, the life skills that you learn going to college, like I said, like catching the bus, for example, that was, I don't think I ever caught a bus going to school. I probably didn't know how to, but then I had to catch 2 buses to get to school. Budgeting, going to the canteen, having that budget to spend money for lunch, that again, didn't learn that at school. In terms of subject, one thing that's always stuck with me is the business studies classes. I remember Mrs. Driscoll. There was about 15 of us, and we took over the whole class. We were most of the class, and sometimes she would say, "Look, you guys, you got to stop being influenced badly from one another." And she really honed into us that, look, turn up to every lesson. And the first big lesson, the question she asked is, what's the number one most important rule about business? What's a successful business? And she said, location. And I've already told you what it is, and I never got over it. And she said, okay, it's location, location, location. And when I've set up my businesses, those 3 words that she said have stuck with me from that day that she said it. So that was a big lesson. And then my English teacher, who happened to, I think, did we have two groups then? Yeah, I think.
No,
possibly, yeah. And she said, I remember her telling me what my strengths were and where my weaknesses were. She said, you're very good at the spoken and written word. And that stuck with me. And like she said, just work to your strengths. So those 2 lessons, I'd say, are the biggest lessons I've learned from my time here. I was a very shy introvert, and I kind of am right now, but this was the first step because I had to make new friends. I've had to do that at school because you kind of it happens organically, but coming into college where you don't really know anyone and making new connections, that grew my confidence massively. And finding things out for yourself, you have to speak to the tutors. Okay, where's this room? Where's that room? So I would say absolutely, yeah. And again, socializing in the canteen, who are you going to sit next to, and all that kind of stuff really helped me. I think when I had done the media studies and business and English, I knew that, okay, English was just like a tick off the list, really. But when we done the business modules, it made me realise actually that is the path I want to go down. So I then went on to do marketing and business management as a degree. I think if it wasn't for that, the A-level here, I probably wouldn't have been so intrigued into what the next step was. So massively that. And then actually the media studies, what we learned in theory and practice, only now, it's like how many, 5 years later, I'm seeing that when I'm going to radio interviews and doing all of this stuff, it's really helped me. The theory that we done back in college, I'm seeing being put in practice for my own life, which is quite mind-blowing actually. So I went to do my degree at university, marketing and business management, took a business on, which was cakes. It's not as if from day one, my story isn't that I had a passion for baking from day one, because I didn't even do baking or anything at school or college, maybe just cooking classes at school. But I had a passion for business, so I wanted to just take this business on and take it to the next level. And I was so lucky after doing it for over a decade that I was making cakes for A-list celebrities, so Sylvester Stallone, Floyd Mayweather, Arnold Schwarzenegger, so many more. There's been about so many more up and down the country, traveling, going on stages at concerts, presenting my cakes. It's been a wild journey. So yeah, and from that, I've had so much interest and people wanting to hear my story. They're like, hold on, you're in Wolverhampton. You don't look like the average cake maker. And yet the BBC have labelled me cake maker to the stars when they've done a media run about me, and I've been in the newspapers quite a few times, and they are labelling me cake maker to the stars, and yet people are like, hold on, you had a shop in Wolverhampton. I didn't even know you were in Wolverhampton, and how does your story, how do you become that? And I will always say, you don't have to have it all figured out. I didn't have it figured out at college, even at uni, but because I just rolled with what I was wanting to do, and it all came into play later on. And from there, I've been blessed to be able to do TED Talks, and I do talks around schools and colleges.